I'm Andrew, here to talk about the films released in January 2008. In case you didn't already know, January is a graveyard where all the studios lay their worst offerings to rest. Dump months, as they're otherwise known, are periods where audiences are historically smaller, with January and February being the most notorious. No tentpole films released during this period, and we instead get films that had a rough time during test screenings. Films with lesser names than genre films, or films that are difficult to market. You'll see what we mean with our first offering. January 4th. One Missed Call. Based on the 2003 Japanese film of the same name, there's no greater example of a dump month release than this right here. Directed by Eric Velez and starring Shannon Sozomon and Edward Burns, One Missed Call follows some university students as they receive voicemails that mark them for death at the hands of a mysterious force. It's basically The Grudge, The Ring, and Shutter, an American remake of a successful Japanese film starring B-list actors. Except this time the source material wasn't even that good. In fact, it's barely mediocre. You cannot find a more bottom-of-the-barrel motion picture than the remake of One Missed Call. It even has the distinction of achieving a perfect 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. January, folks. One Missed Call picked up $45 million at the box office on a $20 million budget, making it the 97th highest grossing film of 2008. Yes, it was successful, but when you compare it to a lot of the other lowbrow horror derivatives that we see, it's not impressive at all. A quick bit of cash for a studio who knows its products less than stellar. January 11th. First Sunday. We all love the Friday films, right? Right? Well, if you don't, we don't know what to say to you. The point is that sometimes you can have nearly all of the right ingredients of something many people love, but can't always recreate that thing in lab conditions. First Sunday is a clear attempt from Ice Cube and co. to recapture the cult magic of the original Friday films. Worth noting is that those films, while well-liked and profitable, weren't massive hits. Popular opinion can sometimes trick people into forgetting that. Another thing is that when you look at the original Friday trilogy, the line wasn't exactly going up. We promise we're not being lazy when we say that we don't have the budget for First Sunday. We genuinely couldn't find any figures, but best guess is in the $12 to $15 million range. It pulled in $38 million, making it the 117th highest grossing film of 2008. In the Name of the King. 2 words, Uwe Boll. That should perhaps tell you everything you need to know about In the Name of the King. Don't recognize the name? Well, let me give you a crash course. Uwe Boll is the reason that Prince of Persia and Silent Hill are considered good video game adaptations. He is responsible for the likes of House of the Dead, Alone in the Dark, Blood Rain, Postal, and Far Cry. Yes, you guessed it, these films are all famously terrible. He's directed 40 films to date, and we don't know which is more impressive, the fact that he got funding for so long, or the list of genuinely talented actors he managed to lure into his projects. Fun fact, Uwe Boll has challenged several of his critics to a series of boxing matches because nothing changes a hater's opinion quicker than a few rounds of good old-fashioned pugilism. He's had 5 fights, winning each of them. Good for him, I guess. In the Name of the King is a fantasy film starring Jason Statham and is based on the Dungeon Siege games. It's hot garbage and deservedly generated $13 million at the box office on a $60 million budget, making it the 186th highest grossing film of 2008. The Pirates Who Don't Do Anything, a VeggieTales movie. If you didn't know, now you know. January is awful. The second film based on the VeggieTales video series, as neither, sees everyone's favourite vegetables getting up to swashbuckling hijinks and whatnot. The film definitely suffered from a lack of famous voices, but would feature some real prolific talent in the likes of Cam Clarke and Yuri Lowenthal. A lack of marketing and, well, quality would lead to a box office bomb. VeggieTales made $13 million on a $15 million budget, making it the 185th highest grossing film in 2008. Producers Stars Animation would eventually go on to redeem themselves with work on Guillermo del Toro's popular Netflix series Trollhunters. January 18th. 27 Dresses. Despite January being a pit, the odd hit can sneak through. 27 Dresses was that one. Now, I'm not saying it's a good film, but it was very profitable, pulling in $160 million on a $30 million budget, making it the 43rd highest grossing film of 2008. This Katherine Heigl vehicle follows a perennial bridesmaid who has worn that particular dress on no less than 27 occasions. The usual plotline ensues as she finds real love and has a couple of epiphanies and such. It's pretty bland and doesn't do anything you haven't seen before, but there's obviously an audience here. Cassandra's Dream. Remember how we said in the intro that January usually features films with lesser names? Well, sometimes a film comes around that is so mediocre that its big names are powerless to influence the release. Exhibit A, Cassandra's Dream. Colin Farrell and Ewan McGregor star in this thriller about two brothers who resort to extreme measures to get out of debt. Oh, and did we mention that this is a Woody Allen film? A perfect example of a director who simply makes too many films, Cassandra's Dream is extremely forgettable, despite its attempts to make a moral impact. It made $22 million on a $15 million budget, making it the 151st highest-grossing film of 2008. Cloverfield. Cloverfield just doesn't get enough love these days, at least in our opinion. This found-footage kaiju film had a lot of hype going into it, thanks to a brilliantly restrained marketing campaign and its unique concept of a big-budget monster movie as a found-footage film. In the wake of the film's release though, all of the people seemed to talk about was how nauseous the camera made them feel, which is a shame. If you can get past the erratic cinematography, then the consensus seems to be that Cloverfield is a good time. Also worth noting is the ongoing universe that no one seems to pay attention to. 10 Cloverfield Lane, released in 2016, was an indirect sequel. At first this seemed like a lazy cash-in, but if you really dig into the meta-marketing and Easter eggs that the films share, you might be surprised to find a fascinatingly fleshed out world they're set to continue into this year with God Particle. Cloverfield took in $170 million on a $25 million budget, making it the 36th highest grossing film of 2008. Mad Money. Mad Money is directed by Kelly Currie and features an interesting main cast comprised of Diane Keaton, Queen Latifah and Katie Holmes. Well, Diane Keaton's in this, which in our mind disqualifies it from being a terrible film, but it ain't much better than that. The premise sees three women from different cultural backgrounds, and Ted Danson, execute a series of heists in order to pay off some debts. Heists usually provide some level of fun, but nothing beyond that is worth anyone's time. It's a shame since director Kelly Currie is the person behind the Thelma and Louise screenplay. However, it's worth mentioning she wasn't responsible for this script. Mad Money didn't make Mad Money. You can roll your eyes all you want, but you would have been disappointed if I hadn't made that pun. It brought in $26.4 million on a budget of $22 million, making it the 144th highest grossing film in 2008. Teeth. If you're in a weird mood, may we direct your attention to Teeth, a modern fable chronicling the trials and tribulations of a young woman with vagina dentata. Just in case your Latin's a bit rusty, I'll clear that one up for you. Vagina dentata means toothed vagina. Teeth is a modern fable about the misadventures of a young girl with teeth in her vagina. I'm perhaps making it sound a tad more whimsical than it really is, depending of course on how you feel about violent castration. Teeth is a good film though, and if you're looking for something that I can practically guarantee you haven't seen before, give it a go. The film was warmly received for its acting, novel concept, and exploration of female sexuality, but unfortunately not many people actually saw it. Teeth took in $2.3 million on a $2 million budget, making it the 279th highest grossing film of 2008. January 25th. Meet the Spartans. If there's a period in Hollywood we're glad to be through, it's the big parody films era. We do still get them, but they're usually relegated to the ninth circle of video on demand hell nowadays. The scene was electric in 2008 though, and Meet the Spartans came hot on the heels of 2006's Date Movie and 2007's Epic Movie. As you can likely guess, the film focuses more on its lampooning of Zack Snyder's 300, with the titular 300 Spartans replaced by a mere 12. It also features a plastering of pop culture references, with appearances of American Idol, Ellen, and the likes of Paris Hilton and Donald Trump. The film was Grange Hill star Sean McGuire's first foray into Hollywood, and unfortunately appears he won't be getting invited back anytime soon. Kevin Sorbo co-starred, and Carmen Electra made her usual appearance. These films were so common for so long because they were cheap. That was part of their appeal, visually speaking, and they were always able to turn a decent profit. But the law of diminishing returns will eventually take hold and parodies just stop being successful enough to justify their existence. For example, the original Scary Movie made $278 million on a $19 million budget in 2000. In comparison, Meet the Spartans made $84 million on a $30 million budget, making the 66th highest grossing film of 2008. Rambo. Also known as Rambo 4 or John Rambo, is the fourth entry in the Rambo series of action films. We say action films, but if you go back and watch the original First Blood, it's actually a lot more drama than balls-to-the-wall action that people have come to associate with it. Rambo himself only killed one person in the original film, and it focused a lot more on the mindset of a veteran who doesn't feel welcome in his own country. Then the sequels came along and turned the series into the explosive popcorn flicks that you may know them as. The simply titled Rambo stripped the franchise back to basics though, focusing more on the psychology of the aging former Green Beret, similar to 2006's Rocky Balboa. Although, if you do enjoy the ultra-violence, Rambo kills well over 200 people in this film, and it is grisly. Rambo took in $113 million on a $50 million budget, making it the 52nd highest-grossing film of 2008. Untraceable. No January is complete without a novelty serial killer thriller, and Untraceable fits the bill perfectly. The film sees a serial murderer rig up death traps for her victims that react to the amount of people viewing a live stream on the website killwithme.com. It's sort of like Saw with a webcam and a condescending tone. The film is clearly damning the voyeuristic nature of consumers, but as many critics rightfully pointed out, the film is kind of hypocritical. Anthony Quinn of The Independent said of the film, "The problem with Hollywood films condemning the public appetite for torture is that they frequently pander to it, and this is a very lurid and unsavoury example." The lead performance by Diane Lane was praised, unsurprisingly, but this wasn't enough to save Untraceable from the pit of mediocrity. It took in $52 million on a budget of $35 million, making it the 88th highest grossing film of 2008. So which of these did you see in the cinema? Let us know in the comments below, and make sure to like and subscribe for more amazing content.